Well, it seems that all attempts to solve the problems Australia faces at the moment is dependent on what happens at this job summit next month. That's certainly the impression we get from the government, which is so very odd to me because we are at full employment and we have 60,000 foreign workers desperately waiting for visas to be approved to get in here and work. And all the pre-summit talk has come from the unions who are bringing their baseball bats, it seems, to beat up on business. No wonder the opposition is calling it nothing more than a union organised stunt. Peter Dutton has boycotted the event. And today, the Australian Chamber of Commerce showed some scepticism about what would be achieved. But today, the Treasurer released an issues paper for the summit. And for a government so determined to increase defence spending, grow the defence industry and enable this country to defend itself, if need be, they don't seem switched on at all about what jobs this defence drive could create and what it needs. There's zero reference to defence in the issues paper for this job summit. How can you get that so wrong? The world is treading dangerous waters with, what have we got, a conflict in Ukraine, China preparing to invade Taiwan, but it seems defence, which should be one of the biggest drivers of employment, has been forgotten. So joining me now is national security expert Lincoln Parker. Lincoln, thank you very much for coming in. So let's just look at what we need to do as a country, forgetting the job summit. We've got a war in Eastern Europe. We have threats of war in the Indo-Pacific. We keep hearing lots of things about what we need. What do we need? What do our capabilities have to be?
Well, I think if the Ukraine-Russia conflict has shown us anything, it has shown us the absolute vital importance of being able to be resupplied. Now, the thing about Ukraine is that they have a number of land borders with friendly countries. So they can get a bunch of resupply and the medicines and the ammunition and the food and fuel and all of those things that they need through their land borders. Now, Australia has no land borders, and we know that when China goes to take Taiwan, that they will cut the sea lanes of communication on our eastern coast. And that's exactly why they are in the Solomon Islands. And that prevents us from being resupplied from the United States. Now, we're in a globalised world and Australia doesn't make anything anymore. We used to manufacture things, we no longer do that. So we rely on imports and exports. So we need to be thinking very critically about what will happen and start planning for what will happen when China goes in and takes Taiwan.
So let's get to the job summit. I had a look at the issues paper today, thinking about the determination shown by Richard Marles about accruing submarines, having better missile power, having some kind of depot on the south or north coast of New South Wales for a nuclear submarine port. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a great opportunity. I saw not one mention of the word defence.
There is no mentions of defence or national security or China or trade bans in that issues paper that was released by Treasury today whatsoever. There's no mention of our allies. I mean, we should be talking about what will happen to Australia if we need contingencies for resupply and if there is conflict over Taiwan. And there's no better opportunity now in a jobs and economic summit that the government is putting forth soon with businesses and unions and government. We should be including defence, national security and indeed our allies, United States, United Kingdom, Japan and India specifically, because they're the countries we're going to be relying on when we need help.
But this is also a skills stroke jobs opportunity. And if you're going to have a job summit, surely you need to start to put that in place. You've got good contacts in both the ADF and the private defence industry. Have any representatives from the ADF or the private defence industry been asked or invited to come along to the job summit?
Not that I've seen. So I've seen no invitations indeed for any ADF. I've not heard that from anyone in the ADF or indeed our closest allies in the United States and the United Kingdom or any other defence industry, which as you're pointing out is crucial for Australia, represents a lot of job opportunities for Australia. It's a huge employer, particularly in South Australia, Newcastle, all sorts of places around Australia where we need to be upskilling our workers to be able to provide for the defence of Australia, yet none of it is in the paper.
You see, we throw subsidies at renewables to encourage an industry to get up to speed. This is a perfect opportunity to do the same thing. Help the current industries we have in the defence sector and make sure that they can expand, increase their skills, increase their workforce, and, do what should be done in a job summit. It won't be mentioned.
Well, it isn't mentioned, and I think we also need to keep in mind that our supply of solar panels and our supply of batteries come from China. So there's going to be another disruption to our supply chain, and none of that is mentioned in this paper. And why is it not mentioned? We need to keep these things in this paper and in this job summit so that we are well prepared.
It questions the Labor government's commitment to building a defence force. Lincoln Parker, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Chris.